This is day 17 of 30 Days of Comics. Ethan, in your opinion, what is the most useless villain?
I don't know. I had trouble thinking of this one. I was like, I don't know. What do they mean when... This question's a little unspecific for me. What do they mean when they say, what's the most useless villain? What's the most useless villain to have in a story? What's the most useless villain at being a villain? So I came up with the answers that I don't really think there's such a thing as a useless villain. I think villains have periods where they're just kind of there and useless, but there's no such thing as a useless villain, because I think any useless villain can suddenly become some really heavy hitter villain. Like, for instance, there's Dr. Light, and I didn't read Identity Crisis because I wasn't allowed to, but the little part that I got to see was pretty much the entire DC universe trying to fight Dr. Light or Prometheus, who blows up almost all of Star City. Yeah, and he was pretty unused and wimpy, kind of the person that you go, it's Prometheus, this should be interesting. So I don't think that there's any characters that you can really call useless, because, that superhero that you see superheroes having a common chat with each other as they beat up at the beginning of the comic book can suddenly become the thing that the entire Justice League has to team up to take down. And we're back with 30 Days of Comics, Day 17. Travis, who do you think is the most useless villain?
This is one of those impossible questions. I've been sitting around thinking about it before we record this, and I can't think of one. Almost any villain can be written to be useless or can be written to be really cool. I think. There are probably some that are really stupid. Crazy Quilt is what wants to come to mind. I know there are other, useless one-shot villains, but reoccurring villains that are useless, I can't think of any, because if they were useless, they wouldn't be reoccurring, I wouldn't think. And I don't even right now. I'm drawing a blank on villains that have only been used once and then never used again. So I guess I'm going to be really lame and pretty much take a pass on this because I can't really name anybody. Like I said, other than Crazy Quilt, I can't think of a time that Crazy Quilt was ever used in a cool way. But there are others. Cold Snap. Snaps his fingers to shoot his ice at people. Cold Snap. Yeah. There are others that are just kind of dumb like that, I guess. So who's the most useless that gets used? I don't know. And lots of times I think that the Penguin is useless, but then somebody will use him in a kind of a cool way. But yeah, so pretty much a pass for me. I'm curious to see what other people say, because I can't think of anything really.